So, good afternoon to all the Seton Catholic School 5th and 6th graders. I'm really happy to see you today for a discussion on and a little art project on color and theory. So, we've been working with colored pencils, and I've taught you some techniques of how to color with them, but what goes along with just being able to color is to start understanding how color works. So I'm in my study right now. Now you can see I have been working here for the last week. So I've been at home. My whole class has been home for this last week. So this is one of those things that, can happen, right? All of a sudden, without much notice, we get sent home. And we did, and we've been working, and it's been great, but my students did ask if I've read all of the books behind me. The answer is no. I have not read all of the books behind me. I have read many of these books, but not quite all of them. Here, in fact, is my calculus textbook from when I was in college. I wouldn't say I read that book, but I did go through it. And many of these books are books with like articles in them where you might read just 3 or 4 of those articles and then keep the book because it's a good resource, but not necessarily something that you would read from cover to cover. Although I'm a very big reader, and I think that makes a lot of books like this not seem so intimidating. So anyway, it's good to see you, and I am really excited to get to share color. I think I'm really passionate about color and all of the ways that it changes how we view the world. Because color is not, and I will show you this, color is not just what you use to paint or draw with. Color is a thing, a byproduct of the thing that's on the paper or the thing that's on the painting or the picture or that you paint your wall with, but it's also a product of your mind. So the title of today's class is Color Theory and Practice, the incredible power of color and your mind. So our objective today, and this is pretty crazy, I guess. The objective for you today is really to recognize the power of your eyes and your brain in determining the colors that you see. And what I'm going to show you is that what you think you know, you might not. A lot of times optical illusions, there's a thing called optical illusions, and it's when your eyes seem to play tricks on you. And I'll show you a few of those. Also, I'll show you the role that our eyes have in determining color and in viewing color. So all of these little pieces are important to the way we see color and to the way we understand how other people see color. And if you're going to become an artist, or even if you just enjoy art, or even if you're just painting a color on your wall, I think it's important to give a little bit of thought to the color and what it means. So I just want to go over our norms for art class. Make sure you've got a space that feels like your own, especially in quarantine, especially since I've been home. My kids are home. We're all kind of crunched in, and finding a space can be so hard. So especially for art though, if you've got your headset, you can put on some music, you can put on some, maybe an audiobook even, whatever. It's not, your mind can be listening to things and work. It's not necessarily the same as homework, which you can't always do math and listen to music at the same time. Or maybe you can, but it's not always as easy. In any event, make your space your own. If you have to put on some headset, that's fine. If you're sitting in the front hall, but you can spread out there with, sitting at a bench, sitting on the floor. The other day, my daughter was sitting on the floor with her things on a bench, and she kind of found this little nook behind the dining room table. Work with your mistakes. Do not work against them. don't get hung up over mistakes. If that's the one thing that you take away from any of your time that you spend with me, that's the number one. Don't get hung up on your mistakes. Let your mistakes pass right through you and let them go away. They're stuck on the paper. Let it go. Work as long as you like. We're not limited by class time. And again, today's project you are not going to hand in. So this is sort of a you project. This is your own investigation. You are the scientist today. Engage with your work and persist until the end. You know, you're determining the end here on this project, but I encourage you, I really strongly encourage you to take the end of this project and push it. You know, don't just be like, okay, I did 3 colors, or, you know, I did it 3 times. I'm fine. I think this is okay. Push yourself. Whenever you think you're done, do a little bit more. All right. It's art. We anticipate mistakes. We respect the creative process and we try until we are satisfied. Okay, here is the fun part. I wish that I was with you. I love to show these optical illusions in class and to hear the oohs and the ahs. And I love to hear how people get so excited. So before I begin, let me just say this one thing. You know, last week we looked at notebooks from a number of great thinkers. And 2 of those thinkers were absolutely fundamental in discovering color theory. The first of those was Leonardo da Vinci. And in his notebooks, we uncovered the foundational principles of color and color mixing and primary colors and secondary colors, which we're going to talk about. And the first color wheel was actually developed by Sir Isaac Newton, and we also saw some of his notebooks. So I want to reiterate to you one time, at least, that some of our greatest scientists are our greatest observers and also our greatest artists. So those 2 things, science and art, often go hand in hand. And the reason is because you must be, in both cases, a very good observer. And it helps to have a lot of curiosity too. So if you have those 2 things, if you have curiosity and if you really want to know what this world is about, those 2 things really help to make you a great artist and a great scientist. Even if the drawings that you're drawing right now don't seem like they're making the cut. You know, you'll feel that way all the time. You got to get used to that feeling, in fact, because that doesn't ever go away. The better you get, the better your perception gets, and the more you notice your own mistakes. So here we go. All right, big red spot. I would like you to stop for just a minute, and you're going to look at the middle of that red spot, and we're going to do that for 30 quiet seconds. Don't move your eyes. You can blink if you need to. All right, I'm going to change this, blink a couple times. Keep looking right where that red dot was, and I think you should see sort of a blue, a sky blue circle, and it will get fuzzy. Will get fuzzy, but actually if you stop and look away and look back at my screen, and you'll realize it was just a white screen after all. However, the impression of that blue hue on your eyes stayed there for some time. So we're going to reverse that. I'm going to show you the blue. Okay, and we're going to look at this one now for 30 seconds. And as I switch that right in front of your eyes, you know, blink a couple times if you can't see it, but you should be able to see the red circle appear. And it'll soon fade and you will be left with just a white screen, which is what I had to begin with. But you did, in fact, see that color. So if you didn't do that, rewind this video, go back and do it. It's really a great experience, but you have to kind of get your brain ready for it. So if it didn't work for you the first time, go back and do it again. Usually I have to repeat this 1 or 2 times for students to really get it, and that's fine. That's good. I got a little I had a little smile in the middle of looking at the blue spot, just remembering how if you do this again, if you do this activity, if you rewind this and do it again, when you look at that blue spot, you will, if you kind of are moving your eyes around a little bit, which I sometimes can't help doing, you'll see the red spots start to pop out on the sides behind the blue spot. It's a very interesting phenomenon. Okay, another, this one is an optical illusion. So here we have some blue and green stripes, and those blue and green stripes are going over a number of hearts. In front of the hearts appear to be 2 colors. Now, I'm going to tell you the trick to this illusion. What makes it an illusion is that all of those hearts are pink. They're exactly the same color, except on the ones that appear purple, the blue stripes go in front of the shape. You know, they intersect the shape. And on the shapes that appear orange, that lime green comes down in between. So what I'm going to do is just show you that these are in fact exactly the same color, and the stripes that go in the middle do not follow, they don't overlap pink. It's not like they're mixing the color. They're not overlapping. They're just going right through, right next to them. But because of the way our eyes connect things, we actually see that as one whole shape. And we don't even see the green that's in between or the blue that's in between as the same color that's, you know, that is blue and green stripe. So this is an optical illusion. This is the color of all of those hearts. But when you put the green in between the red, pink, it becomes like an orangish color. And when you put the blue in between the pink, it becomes purple. Okay, this one is just, is really exciting if it works. If it doesn't, you rewind it and do this again. So you're gonna stare at the dots right near the woman's eye, and we're gonna do that for 30 seconds, okay? And then immediately afterward, you're gonna look at that X, you're gonna turn your eyes and look to the X, just to the right of her face, and you're going to blink quickly like this. As soon as you get that X, you start blinking. When you do that, you should see the photographic image in real color for just a split second. It just happens just a minute of this woman who's looking at us. So this is the photographic negative image. And what we do is, in old-time photography, not digital photography, you used to take this photographic image and overlay it on a piece of paper and expose it to light, and then remove the image, and then on that photographic paper you develop the image in some chemicals, and you'd have a photograph. And that was how we had photographs for years and years. Now it's just printed like a picture, but it didn't used to be. We used to use these images. So start right now and let's look at those 3 dots right below her eye, and we're going to look at her for 30 seconds right at those dots. It's kind of important that you don't move your eyes. Okay, look at the X and mine faded. All right, but I had it until I said mine faded. It was that last blink took it away. So did it work for you? Oh, I wish I could just hear the screams and the squeals. You guys, please share this with your parents because it is really fun to see if they see it too. Okay, so I would probably spend maybe a whole day showing you all of these, you know, a bunch of optical illusions, but you can actually look these up online too and share them with friends because it's when you realize how much your eyes can actually trick you, you realize how much you can sometimes be wrong about something. So when you're working with color, it's really important to realize that everybody sees color a little bit differently. I remember when I was very young, one time I was sitting out on my front porch and I was looking at the grass and I suddenly wondered to myself, what if when everybody said grass is green, what they were seeing was the color red? Would I ever know if they were seeing a different color when they saw green? If when they looked at anything that was green, if they saw the color red, but because we'd always just called it green, whatever it was, you know, like green grass or a green lime or green leaves on the trees or a green pencil, what if they saw red and I was the only one who saw it like green? How would I ever know? We just wouldn't, right? We just wouldn't really know. And it's really hard if you ever try to describe a color without saying something like leaves or limes or grass. You know, it's hard to describe a color without naming something that is that color. So color theory helps us to create visual patterns that are understandable in relationship to the colors that we are using. So when you start to use colors, color theory helps you to be able to create color relationships that are exciting, that are unique, that are sometimes can cause that visual image or a visual illusion, which you might want to do, and especially to help things pop out or to, you know, fade into the background. The tricks that we can employ when we become an artist, when we become interested in this kind of thing, help us to shape the way others view our artwork. So this is the color wheel. This is the first color wheel. This is really similar to the original color wheel that was developed by Newton. His did have indigo in it. And I do think that this is kind of, it's very similar to his, but this is my favorite color wheel. This is the one that I've always used. But I love how it has these triangles in here, if you can see this. You know, this triangle. I love that that it shows it very visually. So we have these three colors. So this one, red, yellow, red, blue. These three colors are called the primary colors. They're called the primary colors because you can't mix them. You just have to have them. Okay, you can't mix yellow from any other colors. You can't mix blue from any other colors, and you can't mix red from any other colors. It's true. I have tried to get reds any other way. The only way we can get reds, yellows, or blues is through nature. So we have to find sources, actual red sources. There are minerals, there are gemstones, there are berries, there are bug shells, there are all kinds of red things, yellow things and blue things that we can use to create different these three colors. But we need to create them out of nature, or in the case of a computer screen, we can illuminate them, you know, just by that. But if you have paints or if you have crayons or if you have anything, those three colors come directly somehow from nature. So then there's these dotted triangles. or dotted lines that create a triangle, right? This is the Star of David. And those are the secondary colors. And these secondary colors are the ones that are created. So these ones we can mix. Yellow and blue make this secondary color green. Okay, blue and red make this secondary color of violet. And yellow and red, whoops, let's do it this way. Yellow and red make this secondary color of orange. So our secondary colors here are purple, green, and orange. Okay, that sounds pretty easy. Those ones are mixed by two primary colors. Two primary colors make a secondary color. Now, I'm going to erase all these drawings because I want you to look at one other thing. There is a relationship when you lay the color wheel out just this way. There is also this relationship that happens right here. And I'm drawing lines that are opposite my colors. And I want you to notice these unique pairs. So there's blue, and what's the opposite color of blue? So what's the opposite color? You go across that line, and it's orange. And what's orange the combination of? The other two primary colors. Okay? So blue and its opposite color is the combination of the other two primaries. Okay, this is really tricky. So we'll review it. All right, let's pick another one. Let's pick another primary color. So yellow plus its opposite color, which go right across, purple or violet. I called it purple, it's all right. So yellow and purple is the combination of red and blue. And then we go one more time. We don't have blue, yellow, and red. So red, here we are, go right across that color wheel, and green is the opposite color, and that's the combination of yellow and blue. So opposite colors are technically one primary color and one secondary color. So opposite colors are a primary plus a secondary color. Okay, and that secondary color is the combination of the other two. So when you pair up an opposite color pair, you technically have all three primary colors. Now, the reason I think that this is so important is because when you mix all of these primary colors together, you get sort of a shade of brown. But that shade of brown is always very unique to the color that you're using. So if I'm using red and I want to create a brown, all I have to do is add green. So I could just use brown, but as I hope you'll see when we get to our art exercise, that the layering of colors actually is more effective than just using a single color itself. So let's move on, and I'll just show you. We'll do a quick review, okay? So primary colors. Okay, guess them right now. Guess them in your head. Primary colors, they're the ones that you can't mix. They're the ones that you have to find in nature. They are red, yellow, and blue. Nice job. I mean, hopefully you have learned this at some point in time. Okay, this is somewhat of an exercise of review, but hopefully you'll get something new out of this too. So your secondary colors, right? These are the ones that are mixed by two primary colors. So think of red and yellow, think of yellow and blue, and then think of blue and red. Yep, orange, green, and purple. Nice job. All right, and now the opposite colors. Now this is the one I want us to kind of carry away from this. This should be the sort of an extension from what you've already learned, okay? So we have red, and what's the opposite color? If you can't remember what the opposite color is, try to remember the other two primary colors. Okay, the other two primary colors are blue and yellow, and what do you get when you mix blue and yellow? You get green. Okay, so red and its opposite color is green equals brown. Okay, got that. Yellow. Yellow's opposite color, I can't remember from the drawing, but I do know that the other two colors are blue and red. And blue and red make purple. So yellow's opposite color should be purple. Okay? And yellow plus purple equals, wait for it, brown. Okay, and blue, okay, blue, the other two primary colors of blue are red and yellow. So red and yellow make orange. So blue's opposite color should be orange. Whew. And if you haven't seen the pattern yet, blue plus orange equals brown. Okay, so why would I want you to really know how to make browns? 3 different kinds of browns. Why? Because opposite colors create their own shadows. So if I have a red apple, all I have to do to create a shadow is I can color the whole apple red. And all I have to do to create a shadow is use some green. I can color an entire banana yellow. And if I want to create the shadow on it, all I have to do is use a little bit of purple lightly on the bottom, right where it sits next to the table, right? And if I'm drawing an orange and I want to put a shadow on it, all I have to do is color in that shadow. And if you remember when I showed you some of my notebooks, when I only had those 2 colors of pencils, blue and like an orangish yellow, I don't know if you remember that from last week, but in some of my notebooks that I showed you, the blue and the yellow, when I was a starving artist student, I used just those 2 colors, and they were opposite enough. It was an orangish yellow. It was like a goldeny yellow. They were opposite enough that when I colored them together, I did get a nice shadow. So a lot of my drawings with just those 2 pencils were really, really much richer than they might have been otherwise. Okay, so we're gonna switch over to actual paper instead of the digital media, and I'll see you on my desktop. Okay, so I want to kind of show you what I've done. I have created this grid on my paper, and I've started filling it in a little bit, but what I did was I just drew some lines. Actually, I didn't have a ruler in our study. I shouldn't say that. I had a really big ruler in our study, but I didn't want to use the ruler in the study. So instead what I did was I took a piece of scrap paper that had already a drawing on it, and I just folded it in half and in half, and that gave me enough of a straight edge, and it was the length of the paper, because it is a piece of paper, same kind of paper. And I'm just gonna move this for you a little bit so you can see. And then I just took this and drew some lines down my paper in order to create a grid. And I created a grid, and I had leftover space on this side and this side, so I filled in some colors, and then what I'm doing is just like
maybe like a table that you're using for a times table or any Google sheet that you might make too. I'm using my colors, you know, in this case here, I've got blue combined with its opposite color, orange. And you can see that I get this really gray, brownish gray color here. And again, I did another one I did over here, green combined with its opposite color, red. And if you look at these two colors, so I want you to see how similar these two colors are. And they're really similar here. Another one I did some colors that are more next to each other. So on this line I have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. That's the Newtonian color wheel. He had the whole Roy G. Biv in there. And then on this side, it could really only fit red, orange, yellow, green, blue, which is fine because I can mix blue and purple. I'll only have to mix it once. And I'll get that down here on this teeny last corner. So, but this, you know, I will get some double colors, just like in a times table. Red and red will make red. Orange and orange will make orange. Yellow and yellow will make yellow. These would be my squares. Like if it was 1 times 1, it would be 1 squared. 2 times 2, it would be 2 squared. You know, that kind of thing. So anyway, these are my colors. And so I did use most of my coloring techniques, I'll just say quickly, were a combination of sharp tip coloring and cross hatching. So I did do, if you look, you can, especially on this red, for instance, you can see that I used the cross hatching in this one. So those were the colors I used. Now, what I thought we would do together is try the last combination of opposite colors to see what we get. So down here we have this, my violet, and then I'm going to go to, if you can see way up here, is my yellow. So I'm going to bring that down all the way to the bottom of the page where the violet is. And then I'm just going to color my purple in, right? And this is not very sharp, so I'm going to give it a quick sharpen. That's much better. And then, you know, sometimes I make better lines going straight across the page. So it's fine if you just, you know, it's fine to remember that you can always turn your page and draw the lines that you like to draw. Okay, and my sharp tip coloring, I'm kind of going across every way. I'm going to just move you over a little bit like this so you can see a little bit more. And then I'm going to color them this way too. Now that we're focusing on just one square at a time and not that whole paper, I think it's better if you're looking really closely and seeing what this color looks like. So I always have that. People will always, my students will always say to me things like, "Oh, Mrs. Herbst, you colored that so well." And I want you to remember that that when you see me coloring something so well, I'm still seeing my mistakes that I see at my level of coloring. So when you say, "Oh, you did such a good job coloring that," I did for a 6th grade level or a 5th grade level, maybe. But, you know, I've been doing this for a long time, so I have a, you know, it's just like anything, like ELA or maths. You know, I've been doing it for a long time. I should be pretty good at it because I've been practicing it. So I have a different standard. So here I'm going to come in now with my, oops, not so sharp yellow. I think it'll be better if we really sharpen that up. Okay. So I'm going to come in with my yellow, and I want you to see what happens to this, because it's kind of, it's a little bit strange to see. So here I'm going to go over this, and I'm going to go over it this direction too. And just get these, so get sort of the main color of it in. Okay, everything is colored. And before I go, I'm going to go over it all one more time, but I want you to see these 3 colors. Okay, so this is before I've gone over it. I'm going to go over it with each color one more time, and that's just to make sure that I have a nice even kind of dark and rich mix. So I'm going to go over it one more time. When you think to yourself, oh, Mrs. Herbst, that's a lot of boxes to color, I would encourage you to remember how important practice is. And the reason that you might think I color nicely is because I have practiced. It's because I've got a lot of practice in this kind of thing. Okay, so that, and then I'm going to come over one more time with yellow. And we're going to have a nice sort of a deep reddish kind of brown. It's a little more red than this orangish brown. But again, it is a brown. And you can see sort of the difference between these 3 browns. These 2 are a little warmer because they have yellow and red in them. And this blue and orange one, it's a little less warm. So, and so I would love for you guys to fill all of these in, even if you have like, the red and red, the orange and orange, you could fill those in to make them a little more intriguing or interesting. One of the things you could do is you could do them in a gradient. So you could fill them from dark in one corner. Remember, just like I showed you some of that dark to light gradient. You could do a dark to light gradient fill from one corner to the other. Okay. And then, just use this to practice your coloring and your blending. And this should be sort of a meditative exercise. Working with color is therapeutic in a way that that's hard to explain. A lot of art therapists who actually work, that's one way to use art in a practical application. There's a type of therapy called art therapy, and it's using things like color and line and shape and just any type of art to express yourself and to help you feel more powerful in your own self. So art has lots of purposes. So here, this is the orange box. So I could have just colored it all in orange, but I used that as a little opportunity to, be creative and do something a little bit different. So, you can do that. You can, I'd like you to try mixing what is orange and green going to be like. What will orange, we know orange and blue. What's orange and yellow going to be like? Orange and red. That's going to give you a nice, what's called a tertiary color. Okay, and then just keep trying this and blending the colors. Over here I did blue and indigo, and you can see how nicely those overlap one another. I also did up here my blue and yellow, and so I mixed my secondary color from my 2 primaries, and I really think you can look at this yellow, and if I take just a moment and bring my green over, so this is the green row, this is the blue row, and this is the green row. I'm going to color that green square right next to right next to this green. And I want you to see if you can tell right with those two right next to each other, which one is actually the richer color. And by richer, I mean more pronounced, more vibrant. Okay, so one of these is a mixed color. So I mixed it right on the paper. And the other one is just a drawn color with the color of the crayon that I wanted, or the colored pencil that I wanted. Now looking at these two colors, they're both green, and you would call them even almost very similar colors. But even just the way that this one has more texture and the yellow brings out some of the vibrancy, I think it's important to really pay attention to the way that these colors mix one another and the way that we come up with this really beautiful bright green from using a technique of mixing. And even this is something so simple as a green pencil. We have green pencils, right? So that it shouldn't be like this. You know, oftentimes we would just pick up the green pencil, but think of how important it could be in your drawing for you to actually mix your own colors on your paper. Okay, take some time and enjoy yourself while you fill in these boxes.
Okay, so I hope you have a lot of fun working on your color sheets. Practice not just your color combinations, but use some of your skills in coloring those boxes to get that. And if you want to try and create some drawings, you know, I always start with fruit because fruit seems to be just, you know, one specific color. You can have like purple grapes, or you can have a green apple, or you could have a red apple, or you could have an orange, or you could have a yellow banana. So sometimes fruit is really fun to draw, and try adding in some of those shadows with those just shadows on your fruit with that opposite color and see what you get. I hope you have a great weekend, and because usually you're watching this on Friday. If you snuck in early and you're watching this early, I hope you make it to the weekend and then enjoy it. Sometimes the days can be long, but enjoy the rest of the week, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.